Well, he attack me. But Jaden Chase, they have to make the fans them know what really are going on.
Blessings Nation, and now welcome to the channel. Here man Jaden Chase, another one we're gonna bring another reason on the topic of current affairs. So if you're new to the channel, just a pass through, but to find the reason insightful, well I'm suggesting to you that you click the subscribe icon and let your voice be heard. Like and share the video, drop a comment in the comment section. Now let's get right into the reasoning. Now Nation, this is another major failure on the part of the prosecution and of course the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Not only has the defense brought into scrutiny the recordings not signed by witness number 3, a member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and witness number 2, an alleged member of the organization now turned state witness. Now another major piece of evidence has been removed. The alleged firearms Nation has been removed from evidence and will not be used against the accused in the case. May I make on the ear the details of what took place and they will continue the reasoning. Look and listen.
The undercover policeman for a third day entered the witness box to speak about the custody of a gun and several rounds of ammunition that were handed over in his presence. The weapon and ammunition he had given evidence on were handed over in his presence during what he described as an intelligence mission in March 2019 with the second witness. The policeman had told the court that, acting as the second witness's uncle, they had gone to a Jones Avenue-based location. The lawman testified that the accused, Royal Taylor, on that day handed over a Ruger 9mm pistol, and the defendant, Joseph McDermott, handed over a drink bottle containing cornmeal and 32 rounds of ammunition. The undercover lawman, in detailing his chain of custody of the weapon, said on the day it was handed over, he took the gun and ammunition to a police station in St. Catherine. There he said he placed the gun in a paper bag and handed it over to a constable on duty for safekeeping. The police witness says he again saw the items on April 1, 2019. At that time, he says he took back the same items from the police station and carried them to the Scenes of Crime office, where they were dusted for fingerprint, then swabbed and rebagged. The witness says he then proceeded to the forensics office, where he submitted the items for ballistics review and was given a receipt number. He says he didn't see the items again until December 18, 2020, when he retrieved them from the forensics lab along with the ballistics certificate. The police witness was then asked to remove all the items from the bag and envelope in court. He did and confirmed that the gun and ammunition were the same ones he handed over to the lab. However, he could not identify the second paper bag that the gun was in. The witness said he only recognized the first bag in which he placed the gun. Following this, the prosecution made its first attempt to have the items admitted into evidence, but attorney Kimani Brightson objected. He argued that from the time the lawman received the items to when he delivered them to the forensics lab, there was a break in the chain of custody, noting that it could have been tampered with. The objection was upheld by presiding judge Chief Justice Brian Sykes. This resulted in the items not being admitted into evidence, but instead marked as exhibits for identification. Only the ballistics certificate was admitted into evidence. The undercover lawman will return on Monday to continue his evidence in chief. Tana Thomas for Nationwide News.
Yes Nation, and now let's continue the reasoning. Now majority of court cases are one on technicality. Recently, in a high profile case, now deceased Dog Park, who was accused of firing at the police among other charges, was released simply because the officers who were fired upon stated in their initial statements that the individual was wearing a certain color clothing, and it was not the case. Simple technicalities like these. Now the fact that important pieces of evidence, the recordings, other than the witness statements, which you know a court case go, is one individual's word against another. Other than the words, statements given by the witness, the only tangible pieces of evidence the prosecutors had was the recordings, recorded in secret, and the weapons allegedly collected by one of the witnesses and brought to undercover members of the JCF. Now, the defense has pointed out that in between the weapons being logged and ballistics being run and the time when the weapons were brought to the cops, there's a major gap. There's a major gap in the time. Why was the weapons not immediately brought in? The officers never forgot to talk about that. At this point, nation, more you talk to me, and more you think about all the things that you have heard, all the things publicized by the tabloids. Would it be surprising to hear that these individuals are acquitted, are charged for lesser offenses? It's definitely a sad situation, and of course a disgrace on the Ministry of Justice and also the Ministry of Security that a major piece of evidence had to be removed simply because protocol was not followed, which highlights that a lot of work is left to be done in the justice sector and also the Ministry of Security. Because when protocol is not followed, certain chains of custody is broken. It almost always leads to an acquittal at the court level, even after individuals have been accused, evidence has been gathered, and a case is brought against them. Major failures of this nature at this level is our case just falls apart. And after the amount of millions of taxpayer dollars allocated for just this case alone, not to mention the previous 50 million used in a similar case against some other individuals. I mean, but this is why some officers still say it is the actions of some members of the JCF that make it look bad for other members, hard-working members of the force. We take them job serious, left out and said the objective is to, of course, serve and protect. It is the misguided, naive actions of other members of the Jamaica Defence Forces and Jamaica Constabulary Forces that make it look bad upon the rest. Now, in fairness, as stated by them themselves, majority of these sectors within the police force itself is understaffed. We do not have enough trained individuals in these particular fields. We don't have a whole heap of forensics experts, the people involved in ballistics. Even if the lab ran 30 tests per day, you'd probably still have a backlog. And if you run the test, if you ever see it, you have videos on YouTube, you've maybe seen it in movies and TV series, it's a kind of long process. The weapon has to be fired again, the rounds has to be matched, grooves on the rounds have to look upon a whole heap of things. And that is what we see from the TV end. You get more technical on a scientific level. Talk to me, nation. The defense team in the case has already picked apart major parts of the prosecutor's argument. To date, they have already brought into scrutiny the statements, the witness statements, given in open court. I have to point that out. They have also uncovered that key pieces of evidence, key pieces of documents were not signed. Documents that should have been signed before trial even start, because the prosecutor is supposed to look over the evidence that them have to see the direction where them are going to go with open arguments and things of that nature. Now, a tangible piece of evidence has now poof, disappeared simply because protocol was not followed. Talk to me in the comment section. Tell me what you think. I never feel like it was a failure on the part of the officers for not logging the weapon into evidence and sending it to ballistics earlier than they did. Do you think it's a failure on the part of the prosecutors for not seeing that this would become an issue once uncovered by the defense? Do you think the judge should have allowed the evidence to be admissible and used against the individuals in question in open court? Talk to me. I'm known to feel. If I said one called Jaden Chase, the dancehall correspondent, the Gaza represent.